What's going on YouTube? My name is Mr. Crippled and today I'm going to be bringing you my Ymir guide. Now before we get into the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like to keep up with any future content that I'm going to be putting out in the future, I will be leaving a link to my Discord and my Twitch in the description below. Now, Ymir to me has always been one of the most troll but potent guardians that Smite has ever produced. Has arguably the hardest hitting ultimate in the game, has a very good passive, annoying amount of CC, good block off, and now they actually give him mobility. And so I wanted to go ahead and go over Ymir for all you people who want to build him for troll, that's not really troll, or trying to use him as an actual support. Now, as usual, I'm going to go ahead and go over his passive. His passive is Frostbite. Basically, whenever you damage an enemy with an ability, they get the Frostbite debuff, which basically makes them take more basic attack damage from you and deal less damage to you. So it's kind of insane, and this does affect critical strikes now, since guardians and mages can crit. So I'll go over a really good crit build for him, I guess. I never thought I would be making a crit Ymir video, but basically, hit abilities, bonk stick, hit harder. Next, I want to go ahead and go over his abilities again in order from the least useful to the most useful. And obviously, we're going to talk about his one first, Ice Wall. Now, Ice Wall is still a very potent ability if you know how to place it. It's a wall that lasts up to 4.5 seconds, and that can be canceled early, basically blocking off any attempted exits. And the wall is pretty wide, so they had to adjust for that or use a run move to be able to get past it. But what they also did to it now is that if it's used at a certain distance on yourself or on the enemy, it actually knocks them up back towards you or knocks you up towards them. So it's only on a 13-second cooldown for a pretty decent CC ability. And like I've said in multiple videos, knock-ups, knockbacks, or knock forwards are the best form of CC in the game, because once you're hit by it, you can't beat it. So him having this on top of a really good stun really helped Ymir. It really did help Ymir out, and I want to go ahead and showcase it. So as you can see, the wall is pretty huge and covers a pretty decent area. So if you're walking into jungle, you can just put this one down. And even though you can kind of squeeze by it, you do have to go out of your way to kind of adjust yourself. And then as you can see, if you cast it on them and you space it properly, if they're on just the outskirts of this, it'll actually knock them back towards you and put a pretty decent put that Frostbite debuff on them, so you actually don't even have to hit a damaging ability and waste it. That way you can actually just use your one. Another good way, like I said, you can catapult yourself forward. This is probably the better use for it, rather than trying to use it as a knockback, but you can still use it as a block off. But if you're trying to get in, very easy get in from here. Just be mindful of the enemy team CC, but a really good chase that ability and a good block off. So I really love what they did with this ability. So the next ability I wanted to go ahead and talk about is his 2. Now, in terms of clear and the abilities you're going to be leveling up first, your 2 is probably the most important. But in terms of actual use, this is only the second most ability, because in reality, this is just a slow and a damage ability. They did make the casting time a lot quicker in this game than they did in 1, and you can actually move around with this ability, unlike before where you kind of just made a sitting duck. Now you are slowed by 42% while casting this ability, but before you just used to be immobile. So again, a really good quality of life change for this character, and it has a 25% slow on it. That last 2 seconds, and it scales mostly with intelligence and a little bit with his strength. Again, I'll go over why this matters later on. And let me go ahead and showcase. Like I said, I want to go ahead and go over his 2. Goes pretty decently far, and like I said, you can move while casting it. And the slow is pretty massive. And then it is on still a pretty decently short cooldown, so this is going to be a really good spammable for damage. However, in most cases, even with the Face Blaster build, this really isn't going to be your go-to. Your main ability is still going to be your 3, which I'll go ahead and go over. but again, does pretty decent damage and applies a really massive slow while also applying Frostbite, so it's still a good ability nonetheless. And then finally, I want to talk about his ultimate. Now, this ultimate is probably the hardest hitting ultimate in the game, doing a whopping 1,350 damage at max, while also having a 160% scaling with intelligence and also dealing extra damage based off your protections, while it's casting, they're slow. You can cancel this ability early, making it deal a little bit less damage. However, if you do manage to channel the ability all the way up and deal full damage with intelligence, this is the hardest hitting ability in the game. However, being able to hit the full ability is still a little difficult, not gonna lie. And as always, I want to go ahead and give a showcase. Now, the stun, even though it's in a cone and can't really hit to his side, it does go ridiculously far for a stun. And because since it lasts so long, you can stun and then put down your one, or you can put down your one and then stun, and they're kind of just stuck there. Very scary for a lot of people to deal with, and lasts for a really long time and applies Frostbite. So in most cases, what you can do is you can, if I can get out of the screen, you can do that as a combo, apply the stun, and then immediately hit your 2, which will apply the slow, which will make it really difficult for people to get away from you, and they're kind of forced to eat a lot of damage from you at that point, or even damage from the enemy team because the slow is so freaking massive. But again, definitely a staple of Ymir. Up next, I want to talk about Ymir's 3. Probably one of the best forms of CC in the game, I'm not gonna lie. The stun lasts damn near 2 seconds on a pretty ridiculously low cooldown at 14 seconds, 16 seconds at max. And then also applies Frostbite. And probably the most scary thing about Ymir, because what you want to do is you put your 1 down and then they have to be scared of this 3. And probably the best team fighting stun in the game. But again, still fairly straightforward. Doesn't do a lot of damage. Has pretty low scaling in terms of actual full-on damage at late game. But definitely the staple of what makes Ymir Ymir. And as usual, I want to go ahead and show this ability now. The area of effect is still pretty decently large. But in all honesty, it's pretty easy to get out of this ultimate before it's fully charged. So in a lot of cases, what you want to do is you want to freeze and then immediately put this wall up behind them so it cuts off their exit escape to try to get as much damage as possible and channel it for as long as possible before letting it go. However, this is what the ability looks like. And as you can see, even without any items, and even though this bot doesn't have any protections, it still took away a third of his health bar. So you can only imagine how hard this ability actually hits once you actually have items on. However, again, it's still really hard to get this ability fully channeled out. So play around, try to find different ways to get it. But in most cases, what you want to do is... in most cases, what you want to do is put the wall down behind them, freeze, and then immediately start channeling. Just to try to get off as much damage as possible. Again, it's not the easiest thing to do, but it is really easy to get the damage off of it if you just want to auto cancel it. So next I want to go ahead and go over his best items. Now, if you're trying to build for more tankiness, obviously Selflessness or War Flag is good. Personally, I'm a little bit more impartial to Selflessness, since he is more aggressive. Having this on and help protect his team a little bit more while he's trying to go in, since this does give a basically a shield equal to your max health, or 10% of your max health whenever they're hit by a CC ability. So he doesn't have to worry too much about his backline as long as you're staying next to him. However, you can also go War Flag, that does give attack speed and movement speed. Whenever excuse me, basically for just standing right next to him, and he gains extra gold and restores health and mana whenever an enemy minion or a jungle monster dies. So either one of these options work. However, personally, I'm more impartial to selflessness, and I will go over his best starter whenever you're trying to go over the bonk build, but we're going to go ahead and go over his tankiness first. If you're trying to be more supportive, Gauntlet of Thieves, Prophetic Cloak, Spectral Armor, all those are really good. Stone of Binding is also really powerful on him, considering the fact that whenever you do hit CC on them, they lose protections for 4 seconds. And since he has a slow on the 2, or a stun on the 2, a slow on the, or a stun on the 3, sorry, a slow on the 2, and a knockback on the 1, and a massive slow on the ultimate, he's going to get a lot of use out of Stone of Binding. Spirit Robe is also really good, considering the fact that as of this moment, there's a lot of CC heavy supports, so having this on you is really nice. I do believe there could be an argument for Predwin. It isn't active. I don't think it's the best active for him, especially since they changed it since Smite 1. So use this cautiously. Nemean is really good to deal with auto attackers, spectral. Standard stuff that you would build on support will be really strong on him if you're trying to go that route. If you're trying to go more solo, it's really dependent. Again, one of the best solo items right now is Triton's Conch, since it gives a whopping 300 health, 15 strength, and 45 intelligence. And then you gain strength and intelligence just for leveling up. So again, this is probably going to be one of the go-to starters that you're to go to. Starting items that you're going to go to when you're building him for solo. If you want more damage or something, hybrid Shifter Shield is also really nice. Both protections, health, mana. You gain strength and you gain protection, so your autos will hit harder, but your abilities won't hit harder. So this is kind of niche, but this can be really strong on him. The better item for him would probably be Voidstone, since it gives intelligence, magic protections, and health. And their magical protections are anybody's magical protection is reduced by 10% whenever an enemy is standing next to you. So this is also really nice. Again, Glad Shield will be okay if you're trying to make your abilities heal you, but again, it gives you strength instead of intelligence if you're going for the more ability-based route. So use caution when having those abilities. Mystic Mail is still really nice on him. Just get a little bit of extra damage. I don't believe in building this item too often on certain characters, but it does give protections and max health while also dealing magic damage. So if you're just trying to be lazy and have a little bit of passive damage, this is also nice. Breastplate of Valor gives cooldowns, protections, and mana. And then whenever you lose HP, your ability cooldowns are reduced by 1 second. So this is, again, really a nice card to have on. Talisman of Purification is probably also one of the better items. You can build this in solo or in the support role, since this just cleanses your allies of any CC. Any CC. Oni Hunter's Garb, Shield of the Phoenix. Any of these are really nice. But those are probably going to be his main go-tos if you're just trying to build him tanky. And of course, like I said, I want to dedicate a different section for this specific part. If you want to go the bonk build. Now, how you want to go to bonk build is that most gods in this game, whenever they're building for their auto attacks, scale with strength and then a little bit of their secondary, of their main stat. Ymir is no different. His auto scale 100% with strength. So if you want to go an auto attack build, it'll be more beneficial for you to actually build nothing but strength cards. And the highest DPS strength build for Ymir is crit, because Frostbite is affected by crit. So he can crit for ridiculous numbers. The highest I've seen so far is about 1,027 if built correctly. And I'm going to go ahead and show you how to build it. When it comes to your starter, you have a couple different options. One, I think Bumba's Cudgel is probably the best option here, since your basic attacks will deal true damage versus minions and enemy gods, and plus after casting an ability, your auto not only reduces your cooldowns but also deals an 20 additional true damage. But I think in most cases, Bombus Cudgel, even in solo lane, if you're trying to troll, this is probably going to be the better item, and it translates really well into Bombus Hammer. You can go Leather's Cowl if you really want to troll, just get the extra attack speed, or if you want to go Death Toll for a little bit of extra sustain. I would not recommend Bluestone Pendant. Warrior's Axe is also really nice, just for the extra tankiness, so you don't get immediately blown up if you're trying to go into solo. But if you're trying to do jungle, Bombus Cudgel, or if you're trying to do a full damage solo, or if you're trying to do a jungle Ymir, Bombus Cudgel is definitely the go-to. Bombus Dagger can be a good substitute, but Bombus Cudgel is probably going to be the better one out of the two. After that, you will want to immediately build into Transcendence. Gives you a crazy amount of mana, gives you penetration once you max it out, gives 35 strength, and then your strength will actually scale equal to the amount of mana you have, so Transcendence is going to be a must. After that, if you want to get the damage, if you want to get to crit as soon as possible, then I recommend going straight into Death Metal, since you'll get your active out the way. You'll also gain intelligence and strength whenever you activate it, and 20% attack speed, while also still gaining strength, intelligence, and 20% crit chance. So this is also really nice. If you want a little bit more burst, Hydra's is going to be the next card. Either way, you're going to be building both. So you're going to want to build Hydra's Lament into Death Metal, or Death Metal into Hydra's Lament. After that, it's just pure crit cards. So you want to go Demon Blade, Deathbringer, and Musashi Swords, and that's basically going to round out your entire build. And you're going to be hitting for ridiculous, I mean ridiculous numbers. Most squishies, even if they don't have beads against you and you run at them, they're dead. There's no reason for them to live through any of this if you build all of these items. And I'm going to go ahead and showcase this. Now, keep in mind, I have no way to fully stack out a item while I have there we go. I have no way to fully stack out Transcendence without going through and stacking it myself. However, what you want to do is pop Death Metal, hit this, and they're dead. 2 crits for 1023, and you're stunned for 1.5 seconds. You die basically immediately once a Ymir goes on you with this build. And this build is extremely fun, even in Arena or Conquest, regardless, because there's basically no way you're going to live through that. And then you don't even have to use your 2 in this. You can just drop your 1 and apply them a Frostbite, so you can do Snake, and they're dead. Like, this build is very fun to play into, or very fun to play and very toxic to play into. So use this build sparingly before it gets nerfed. And that's going to be it for this video. Again, thank you all for watching. And if you have any other further questions when it comes to this character, feel free to comment in the comment section below. I appreciate all of y'all for being here. And y'all take care.